answer. But yes, our MPs also have prepared their questions for you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you so much, all the teen MPs, for your rigorous effort for the last 10 months, 10, 11 months. And I hope you enjoyed this and the last parliamentary session next month. So, best wishes, everyone. Let me invite the first guest for today to give her opening address and share her experience with all of you on how does social impact really work. So, a very warm welcome to Dr. Lopamudra Priyadarshini, the General Manager for CSR or Corporate Social Responsibility for Hindalco Industries Limited. Lopamudra ji, over to you for the welcome address, and then it will be over to the teen MP.
Thank you, everyone. Very good evening. Grateful and thank you for this opportunity. Actually, it gives me immense pleasure to be speaking at this 11th Parliamentary session of the world's first exclusive teen parliament, initiated in partnership with UNESCO, MGIEP, and Save the Children. I'm equally glad actually to learn that this initiative is appreciated and recommended by the Supreme Court Bar Association of India. Thank you for having me. Well, I am given this opportunity to express my expectations from the MPs of the World Teen Parliament. But before that, I have something very important to express. This is an amazing platform for teenager who can solve a local or a global problem with his or her ideas. A body of teens from all across the world giving innovative solution to their local and global problems to world leaders and working on those ideas themselves for creating a better tomorrow. Actually, I am a mother of two beautiful teens who are twins too. I can empathize on the responsibility and power they carry to strive a difference in this world. Having said that, I am inspired by the countless examples of young people pursuing collective action by bringing together diverse voices to care for their communities. From providing humanitarian assistance to refugees to helping those most affected by the pandemic to driving local climate action, their examples provide the blueprints we need to build the more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable society and economy we need in this post COVID 19 world. So I'm equally proud to come across hundreds of teenagers who have joined this platform and have voluntarily shared their thoughts and approach to make this world a better place to live. Like my children always say, some is very fond of animals, so she wants to save the animal and she will have to have an animal shelter. She want to have one, and the other one wants to preserve culture, art. So right from all this, and also water management, sanitation and hygiene, climate change, humanity, organic farming, and any multiple key other key areas where these teens really need looking forward to work. Actually, girls need help redefining success in healthier way. New research has was found that self-compassion, a three-step practice that teaches self-kindness in the face of setbacks, relieves symptoms of anxiety and depression for teens, especially those who suffer from chronic academic stress. So my daughters, they do keep on telling me that we are under tremendous depression. I am depressed, I am stressed, and I cannot relate to that most of the times, because when I was their age, I was never depressed and I was never stressed. All I knew is to study and go out and play. With the changing world, we see that there are a lot of challenges that maybe the expectations from the community, the society, the world itself from the teen is so huge, or they see it so huge. And in this race, they see everybody running and they wonder, how will I run? What would I do? And that community, the friends, the society, families put a great pressure on the teens. The greatest expectations I have from teens of today is finding a purpose, doing something you genuinely love that joins you to something bigger than that yourself, or make the world better. Can also shield adolescent from the most negative effect of stress, I think. At a moment when so many teens get the message that what a college admission committee wants matter more than anything they care about, helping girls find their north star has never been more important. I personally believe that young people are the most affected by the crisis faced by our world, or currently they are facing by our world. They are also the ones with the most innovative ideas and energies to build a better society for tomorrow. The next generations, I think, are the most important, most affected stakeholders when talking about our global future. And we owe them more than this: transparency, accountability, trust, and a focus on stakeholder capitalism will be key to meeting this generation's ambitions and expectations. We must also entrust in them the power to take the lead to create mindful change. And I again urge that, be yourself, be who you are, do what you like. Multiple people may not like it and may not be with you, but in a long run, I see that and I believe that you guys are going to be the most effective and happy generation. And the most important thing for me is, and I keep telling my children, I do for my children, is to be happy, and rest all doesn't matter. Because the maths we will not remember, the history, the literature we will not remember, but we will remember those days where we were happy and did something. So be happy, believe in yourself, and you can do it. That's all I will end my, remark and note with.
Thank you so much, Lopamudra ji. And I think a good takeaway for everyone is that stress will always be a part of your life, but learn to be happy, because this is something that will never, leave your hand throughout your journey. So thank you so much, ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Sudarshan Suchi, the CEO for Save the Children India. We're very thankful to Save the Children for being a part of the World Teen Parliament since day one, even before inception. The team at Save the Children has been contributing as a part of the advisory of the World Teen Parliament and helping us in setting up the World Teen Parliament. A very warm welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Good evening for those from India, and good morning, good afternoon for rest of you from different parts of the world. First of all, a confession. I have generally faced all kind of people, from rural extreme village communities to corporate head honchos to journalists, to various diverse sessions, and have kind of got used to and everything. Okay, I mean, I can manage that. I mean, I'm in awe, and I'm actually kind of flummoxed today to be facing all of you. And I'm so glad it's online. I don't know if I would have been able to hold my own if we were all in person. Though nothing like meeting in person, nothing like putting a face to context and, this thing. So that's one confession. In terms of a larger worldview, I am a die-hard Democrat, infinite Democrat, and also obsessed with participatory processes. And sometimes, friends, I feel that the idea of democracy, it violates the idea of participation in some ways. In terms of when you view democracy in a clinical sense. And why I say this is, your teen parliamentarians and future active citizens of the world, somewhere or other. My work and my engagement with rural marginal communities has taught me a very simplistic view of democracy, that the one whoever scores majority, that gets decided, or majority is what drives democracy. So I feel that that's one of the most misleading contexts, that if the larger agenda is to be inclusive, it's to be tolerant, is to be bringing into forefront people from margins, then I think we have a tough act. And I think if anybody can break through this, all of you guys can send a new trend of lifting the bar of democracy from simple majorities to consensus building, in which the voice of those who are otherwise unheard the voice of those who may not have a power within. So when you are a parliamentarian, for me, the whole idea of parliament is you are representing somebody else. And that representation, I think, is a big opportunity. It's a big reward, and it's one of the biggest challenges that you carry on your shoulder. I think what rests on your shoulders is the responsibility that not a single voice which has trusted you and voted for you gets missed. And I think therein lies the journey for future, that my interest, your interest, each one of us, our interest in the whole idea of parliament and democracy is not merely to reach there and then push forward things that you believe in. The challenge to us would be to be able to represent those ideas which sometimes you may not personally believe in, but they're important to somebody or other. And how do you do that? Could be a religious idea, could be idea around food, around language, around education, around anything on earth. But how do you not ensure that no single voice is stifled? How do you ensure that the world is a better place for those who are in a minority in a democracy? How do we practice a more inclusive democracy? That is what is a big challenge. For me, the expectation from you all is that you will play a role of being an active citizen. An active citizen, first and foremost, will keep the spirit of democracy alive by making sure that democracy is not about who has power over whom, but who has power with whom, and who can take the responsibility of waking up the power from within for all others. That's a big responsibility, a big opportunity, and a big challenge. The other part is, what kind of a world do you dream of in future? Do you even dream or not? And if you dream, and if you dream a world of a different kind which you would like to make happen, would you allow dreams of all others who couldn't come or be a part of the parliament, but whose dreams are also important? So how do we make sure that all that forms a part of a narrative of a safer, better, healthier world in future? And from my side, I would also say that personally, I believe that if we are not, so four larger macro level perspectives. First of all, choosing to be a part of the system or establishment or the process means we are people who are acting, recognizing the power of togetherness of a society, cohesive. Because we can also always have a choice to work outside the boundaries of the system. So that's also a journey people take. In India, uh, such people may be known, and I mean, you're globally there, but those people would not hesitate to take violence as a route to solve problem. But those of us who choose to, I'm not even saying one is right, one is wrong, but I'm saying to be in a parliament means you've chosen to be a part of system. You've chosen to make a contribution to be a part of the solution and not the problem. And one of the biggest challenges of solutions will be sometimes occasionally, things may not go your way. How do you do then? What do you do then? Is that the end of democracy? Is democracy or parliament or your participation only as good as till it suits you? Or will you celebrate it when somebody else's views prevail over you? How do you encourage plurality? How do you have a multiplier, effect where more and more people and more context gets filed in? So how does one do that is a big challenge. I have bulk of my life worked around rural farming communities. So one example I want to pick up from there for all of you. All of you would be familiar with trees, plants, shrubs, food, whatever. So let me give an analogy of a typical tree, a healthy plant, whatever. What we see on the surface, a stem of a plant growing healthy, branching, leaves, flowers, fruits, and we look at a tree and we say, based on the look of it, of whether it has plenty of branches, whether it has a thick, strong stem, whether it has leaves, fruit, flowers, and then we accordingly say, is this a good, healthy tree or not? Very seldom we try to figure out how good are the roots of the tree. Very seldom, because they're not visible to our eyes. And any tree, what you see on the surface is directly proportional to what is inside in the roots. So there is no tree you will find which is healthy on the surface and has very weak roots. So initially the plant takes roots, the roots stabilize themselves, and the roots are the source of future growth of the tree. And the roots draw all the strength from everything around it, the soil, the water, the air, the environment, everything. Why am I narrating this? People and human beings are something very similar. What you see on the surface is one context, what you are, who you are, where you are. What is happening in the subsurface is a huge word. So to be sensitive to that. And if I want to draw that analogy by way of any one of you representing a particular context, when you come here, what we see is one person, one human. What you come from, the context you come from, who all's aspirations are riding on you, how many different voices and expectations are there, what struggles and challenges you've had, and what opportunities, all that. I think the biggest challenge for teenagers is a challenge not really of some complex technology or skill. It's a challenge of being curious, of asking questions, of having a willing learning journey, of being humble, of willing to concede, and being vulnerable. It is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to say that there are so many other views and mine give way, yielding. So I think our current parliaments across the world would probably a good, excellent example of what not to do. And maybe you guys can help us to figure out what all we could do and what will it take us, what kind of courage of conviction would be there. I'm here today to be celebrating learning, to be celebrating democracy, inclusion, consensus building, and making every voice count. And I'm here as a learner. So whatever you will be sharing with us, whether as a question or a challenge or a comment or anything, I would be very happily, cheerfully taking it as a learning. And I want to conclude by saying I have two kids. One is 28 now, a son, and a daughter, 21. And when I count my education, the best of my education happened in engaging with my children while they were growing up. My biggest accomplishments was to be able to live their life like them and figure out. I mean, instead of being judgmental on them, absolutely thoroughly enjoyed every little thing which, as they grew up at different stages, they did as they did. And I saw a different world. I saw a very non-adult world, a very thrilling, exciting, brilliant, bright, new, full of hope. So I still carry that. I learn. Thank you. Thanks, Daksh, and thanks all other hosts having me here. And I'm all ears to listen in now. And Dr. Lopa, wonderful hearing you also and of your twins. And I look forward to knowing more. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Sudarshan.
Thank you so much, Sudarshan. And I think a very important idea that we also started talking about when the parliament was elected, we gave them a small little workshop on the idea of difference between democracy and sociocracy. And I think you typically talked about sociocracy, that giving the right kind of space to every single idea. And that's what all these teenagers have been practicing. And once they came into a team, democracy elected them as an MP. But once they started work, they had to follow sociocracy in their decision making. So they have, each one had a veto power when they were doing internal discussion. So thank you so much, sir. So now it's time for questions. So we'll invite teenagers one after the other, then they'll ask the question. And both of you, whoever wants to respond or add on, please feel comfortable to unmute yourself. So The first question comes from Krishna BS. Krishna, over to you. Please introduce yourself and unmute yourself.
So hello everyone. I am Kishan BS from Sri Vidya Kendra, the Smart School, Bangalore, Karnataka. My question is to Dr. Lopamudra ma'am. So my question is, what are the important skills that a teenager should have to become the best asset or resource for the world or country?
Kishan, very apt question. Thank you for asking it. My answer would be very simple, that, do what you want to do and just be happy, go with the flow. Just don't push yourself to do something. Is that all I would like to say? Once you are within yourself and you enjoy what you are doing, whatever you are doing, you want to play, go ahead and play, be a good player. Whatever you do it for yourself, to improve yourself, not for anyone, not for the world, not for the society, not for anyone. I think once you start believing in yourself and start doing what you want to do, then world will come into place for you in its own course of time.
The next question comes from MP Carla Torre Costa. Carla, over to you. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, good afternoon. First, I would like to apologize because I am currently in my local library and cameras are not available on their computers. But I would like to ask my question to Mr. Sudarshan Suchi. And my question is about students and schools. My school is Obra Misionera Ecumene in Spain, Almansa. And I would like to ask about the change of situations in Indians schools. For example, there has been a change with the impact of social medias or the internet, and now I would like to ask about the impact with COVID and how it has affected teachers and all the work involved in schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. I think so. I have mixed feeling and response to this. First of all, I think the whole world, including India, we got caught unawares when we were hit by the pandemic in last 2 years. And when I say unaware, it's not about the medical situation and the lockdown. I'm going beyond that. I'm saying in a bulk of places, all our education as we imagined it to be actually almost failed us. It failed in terms of developing the coping mechanism. And therefore, we had to innovate and we had to find solutions which previously none of us would have thought are okay or acceptable. So, Carla, now when we look back, schools have opened, children are back. But what has significantly happened is, I think teachers and students are still assessing the learning loss, that actual loss in terms of not being together and not being an interactive learning context as to what's been the impact of that. But there is a new hunger, there's a new respect and hunger of togetherness, to be together, to connect again and to rebuild. The other part which has happened is a level degree of comfort with technology, willingness to engage with technology. The part I think we still don't know is assessing the mental stress, the mental health, as to what toll the 2 years social distancing, for physical distancing from each other took. And that is there. However, let me now bring the positive side of it. I think life skills curriculum has come to the forefront and in a very high focus across engagements in education, and people are looking at education beyond physical boundaries of schools. So parents, teachers, communities, and children themselves are looking at education from a much broader, bigger context, and also looking at it from a context of life skills. And I think, I mean, this is the other word is I'm putting on my own, from my own side, but I think it's very true out there. people have a lot of respect for simplicity of finding happiness over and above everything else. Peace and happiness have far more value. So discussions often today are around, all these things and not around what will happen if I don't get a job. Those pressures are also there, but I think it's a society which is regrouping towards what Dr. Lopamudra was missing between her childhood and the current childhood, that people are also valuing that, coming out, being together, having fun, sometimes doing nothing. And yeah, so Carla, simple, small, doable things are being rediscovered. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was a great answer.
Thank you, sir. The next question comes from Nikesh Balakumar. Nikesh, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nikesh Balkumar. I'm in 10th grade, studying in DPS East. So my questions for Dr. Lopamudra ma'am. So what were some key moments in your life that you could say not only helped you find the imperfections in the world, but also inspired you to solve them? After all, geniuses are not born, but they're made.
Right, absolutely correct, Nikesh, and I totally agree with you. That yes, there are multiple, I think whoever we are today is all those failures that we have faced that has made us who we are. And you cannot say that we are made of successes, but we are made up of all the failures. So there are multiple challenges that we faced in our life. And when we face those challenges, we with a smile in our face and confidence in our hearts, we say, yes, this is also there, and this also I can pass, and this shall pass. Nothing is permanent in this world. Thus, I would say that never ever think that a problem is bigger than your determination and your confidence. Every problem comes with a solution. So these setbacks are the things that has made every individual who are in this place as a known person. And I like a very beautiful quote of Japan: the vase which is broken multiple times have more values in Japan, because it has fallen multiple times to rise above and rise again where they are. So Nikesh, this is the mantra that we have, and this mantra actually makes us a better person than what we are from yesterday, rather than what others sees us how we are.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for your wise words.
Thank you, Nikesh.
The next question comes from Devansh Agarwal.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I am Devansh Agarwal, and I'm a class 10 student from Delhi Public School, Chandigarh, and I'm an MP at the 11th Parliament. My question is to Mr. Sudarshan, sir. Sir, my question to you is that during the COVID-19 pandemic, when everything went online, so how did you carry out your work and operations and your cause of helping children, since most of your work is on field, going and helping? And we also have backward rural areas in our country where they were not initially aware of the pandemic in the initial period.
Devansh, thank you. Thank you for asking this question. This is an issue very dear to me, and also was one of our toughest moments. So why toughest moments? Because and also one of the most wonderful, rewarding moments. Toughest moments because as CEO of the organization, one of my responsibilities was well-being of my colleagues. And one of the things that was being asked was to keep everybody safe and home. On the other hand, the larger cause for which we existed were all the children and all the caregivers of children who from vulnerable society was suddenly left at a distance. At a distance, when I say from the mainstream, whether it was urban slums or rural areas, children who were used to having either a midday meal or going to school regularly, also had free playtime and all, were actually suddenly had to contain in limited area. These are not children who had ready access to, let's say, net or connectivity or that learning. They had scarce resources. Parents lost livelihood and therefore food, etc., was scarce. There was a unknown fear of the unknown in terms of that, and perception commonly was that if there are crowded, poorer areas, they may be more risky or dangerous, whether rural or urban. And these were people who needed us most around this time. And therefore, I think what happened was, while I let everybody in the organization know that you don't need to come, you don't need to step out of your home, but I saw a huge number of our colleagues, if not all, coming out, taking all precautions, but saying they've got to go and reach and stay connected. When it's the worst, it's the time to put everything behind, to let those children know that there are people available, accessible, and care and will reach out. And also a lot of innovative ideas and a lot of actually people, who I would say would be equivalent to all of you, they stepped up. Children from the communities, some natural leaders stepped out, and they maintained the chain and connectivity. We transferred initially just the sheer awareness of what this whole thing is, what precautions to take, and how these teenagers took lead and briefed their communities, elders, youngers. We participated in what broadly I would say removing the vaccine hesitancy, and it was teenagers like you in those rural or other communities who persuaded their elders to take vaccines. So we got some more than almost, I would say 200 million such community people there. But more important than all else, these people held the social fabric together just when there was a fear of unknown of everybody. That fear of the unknown, that what will happen, and people wanted to avoid each other or shun or keep distances. These children, the youth leaders and our community workers, through WhatsApp, through telephone calls, and through going physically to some safe spaces, creating safe spaces, all that happened during this time. 2, 3 very brilliant things which I would like to share is when we realized that kids can't go to school, especially the early childhood kids, 3 to 6 and all others. An idea was born, saying that let's take school to kids. And therefore, what we call as a program called Gulmohar we launched, where we mobilized community volunteers and mothers, assessed some of them for their capacity, provided them basic training and capacity to continue engaging children for learning. Small lessons, exercises, support system, directly 1 in 5 family, close to their proximity so that they don't have to go anywhere around. That was one thing happened brilliantly. Another thing idea which came up was something called Max Center, Multi-Activity Center. So we made use of a lot of abandoned factory buildings and other offices which were close, and in them started organizing for very small group of children of different ages activities to keep them peaceful, to keep them connected, and to engage them in relevant things, whether it was art or craft or studies or playing games or just talking of various things around. And they were our biggest communicators in terms of COVID appropriate behavior, etc. So lot of innovations came during this time, and that I think gave me also a lot to learn. I learned that when you are not around, people learn much better and do much better. Wonderful kids. So kids become your teachers if you are not around to teach them. They take charge. All we need to do is to make sure that can happen in normal times also. That, that we leave solutions where people discover, innovate, solve, all that. Yeah, Deva. So it's been two of the most, I would say, in the worst of times, the best of capacities emerged. And it gave me a lot of hope for the future. And that's that. Yeah.
The next question comes from Anushka Pawar.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anushka Pawar, an MP of 11th Parliament of Class 10, studying in MIT VGS Vishwashanti Gurukul School. And my question is to Dr. Lopamudra ma'am. Ma'am, even in present, most of the parents do not allow their girl child to interact with the society, learn social skills, or get themselves involved in discussions with opposite gender. How can we, as a teenagers, change this perspective of the parents towards their girl child?
Anushka, unfortunately, this is very, very true. I am also born in a very in a rural place where where I was in class 8th, 9th, and I was also not allowed to go out of home after 6 o'clock once it is dark outside. And obviously, I was not allowed to talk to the opposite gender. I had an elder sister who was 1 year older was 1 year older to me, and she was a little bit. She used to talk, and my father used to very upset, and my mother used to be very upset about it. And from her, I said, I am not going to do it because But of late, I think what was there once upon a time in India is no more, not to that extent it is there, but yes, still yet, because we have not made our society that safe for our children. Today, earlier it was only for female, only for girl child, but today it's not safe for any child. Unfortunately, we are moving towards that kind of a society where our children are not safe. And we are the torch bearers, and after us, you will be the one. So what I had encountered in my childhood or in my life, obviously when I have been to college, I was very careful because it's not our parents that is at fault, but it's the society that we live in, and we are not able to make a healthy society. Yet we are trying, but we have improved a lot, I should say that. And now what we shall do is, what I have faced, I don't impose on my children. All I say is, no matter what you do, and I want my children, every parents want their children to be safe. That's all is the reason. And I take that risk, and I tell my children that, whatever you do, I am with you and I will always be behind you. Even if you do any mistake or anything goes wrong with you, I will be there to support you. So that confidence, every parents, must give it to their children. I know it is difficult. It's not an easy thing to do for a parent because, now when I became a parent, I can feel that why my parents were telling me, not to do that, because they just wanted their children to be safe. Because we don't live in a, now my children are living in Greece, in Europe, and, now we don't tell them whom to talk, whom not to talk, or why to talk, where to go, how to go, because they can go anywhere, it's free. And, but until last 1 year when they were in India, it was also challenging for me. I was scared in Delhi that to get out of my township, if they are going out of the gate, I was worried. It happens to few of the places, but let us hope and let us work towards that every towards that the society that we will build will accept everything and make it safer for our children to live. And I urge all of you to respect each other, respect every human being as we are born, not because of our, respect all the genders, not because we are born, in a specific way, or because we are male or a female. A female should respect a male, male should always respect a female. And if we can, if you guys can take this message forward in your lives, I think we can build a better community and better society in this, in the Indian context. Whereas in other countries, also there are challenges, but challenges are lesser than where we are, and somewhere challenges are more than India. Because here we are, world citizens are sitting here, future citizens are sitting here. So I think it's not our parents' faults, but because the society that we live in, and let us take a pledge that we make this society more safer for our children to come in. Anushka.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
The next question is from Arna Chandel. Arna, over to you.
Greetings, everyone. I, Aina Chandel of class 10th from Ellen House Public School, Panki, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh. I have a question for Dr. Lopamudra Priyadarshini, ma'am. According to you, what is the best advice that you can give us to make others believe in us? Like, my team and I work on eradicating child labor through free education. We achieved our first target of creating awareness among 100 people, but when we wanted to have a collaboration with an NGO and actually teach kids, then while collaborating, parents had a thought that it's all worthless and they did not wanted to believe in us. So kindly please share some wise words with us.
Arna, this is very unfortunate that we do not believe others. So let us all start believing each other, give that opportunity. But the mantra is hard work, resilience, and patience, perseverance. What you are doing, if you are really, are you believing in it, first of all? Do you believe what you are doing? Do you believe that you can create that change? Just don't worry about whether others are believing. You just focused on what you are doing and what you want to achieve. Have patience, show perseverance, be resilient, that one day or other the other people will be NGOs, for example. If you keep on doing it, why our people are not observing us? One day they will know that the honesty and the resilience that you show in doing something will be rewarded and awarded one day. So have those qualities and inculcate those qualities in you, and just believe in yourself. Once you know what you are doing, you are confident with yourself in what you are doing. I think everybody will fall in line slowly with that.
Adna, Daksh and Dr. Lopamudra, if I may add to that.
Yes, please, Sudarshan ji.
Thank you. So, Arna, what is actually required is all of us, including adults and different adults, we have our learning spaces. And if life was so easy that everybody will just quickly change and adapt because you have something to say, then life wouldn't have been where it is. The world would have looked different and been different. It's because all of us, including you and me, we have our struggles with what we accept and what we don't, and where and how we learn. So my suggestion to you would be that when you expand your work to influence, when you want to expand your sphere of influence, you first have to put in the effort to figure out how well do you know the environment of people whom you want to influence. What is their environment, and which is the environment in which they have most receptivity. And if I had to give you a simple example, you just start from home and your parents. Observe closely, you might be already knowing that. You will find that there are certain times, certain days, and certain locations on which they are most enthusiastic to listen to you and will readily agree. And there are certain other times, days, months, etc., when they will resist you and may reject you, and you may get negative result. And similarly, across the society and this one, that's what you need to do actively. Because remember that this is something that you are wanting. So it's not right to expect that all others are just waiting for you to come and say and listen. So you have to figure out what you want, how do you communicate, when and how, in what environment, so that they receive it in their mood. And that's when this change starts happening. It's slow, it's painful, and it does happen. But should you give up in between? Everybody will say, we knew that, we knew that, and that's why we were not changing. So that's the thing. So persistence would help, but not persistence without receptivity. Ki aaspaas, what is happening around me? I mean, how do I change also? You look at yourself also. When are you willing to accept things, to be changing something from what you always do? So that thought will help. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir and ma'am, for sharing valuable words.
The next question comes from Chinmay.
I hope silence is not the question.
No, sir. I'm audible, right? Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chinmay Joshi from Mansukh Kothari National School, Pune, Maharashtra. My question is for Mr. Sudarshan, sir. How can the society and us teenagers support the children with special needs?
Thank you. First of all, I think to be able to support anybody else, we need to know what support do they require. We need to learn to respect every person in their space, first of all. That those who may not want support, one shouldn't insist on offering. After that, I think the biggest support one can give is dignity and equity in terms of reaching out, understanding, knowing, and respecting. I mean, I'll actually count one experience for you, which was one of the most shaking for me. This is one organization called Dialogues in Darkness. I had that experience in Germany, but they are there in India and various places. So this was an experience of how do blind live? How does the world look like from a blind person's context? And so I was called saying that we'll take you to a restaurant. The only condition is that you'll be absolutely blindfolded and it would be pitch dark, absolutely pitch dark. And the restaurant was a real restaurant setting, tables, chairs, and everything else. And you'll be helped and guided by somebody. So when it became pitch dark, my whole world came to a standstill. I couldn't figure out anything anywhere, and then there was this person who guided me. She guided me to a chair. Next to it, there was a table, and they asked me, they took orders. Okay, what would you like? Tea, coffee? And I couldn't figure out what is where. If somebody was pouring tea, I didn't even know whether the cup was full or half. And then, so all these people who were helping us were blind people, and they helped us very perfectly in everything. And I suddenly realized that, I just assumed that somebody else needs my help, and there I was the one who needed all the help. And then I thought that, yes, I need to learn much more and respect as to how does the world look like from somebody else's eyes or somebody else's perspective, and then figure out how can I be useful then, and not useful as in pitying or act of kindness or something, but in equity. Similarly, I think any other form of what you may call is a differently abled person or this thing context, special need. I think that's the starting point, Chinmay. I mean, there are multiple other specific ways in which one could be useful. One could learn sign language, one could learn Braille, one could this thing. I think the first thing one has to learn is to respect the space of that person and try to imagine and figure out the world from that person's views, and not be condescending in the terms of help. I think that's a good start to do. And yeah, much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. So we are nearly at the conclusion of the session. So the last question is from Shreya Vinod. Shreya, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I am Shreya Vinod, and I'm a first-year Electronics and Communication Engineering student at Anna University, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. I happen to be an MP at the World Teen Parliament, but today I'm here to ask a question on behalf of MP Preksha Mahesh, who's a grade 10 student at Daffodils Foundation for Learning. So here's her question for Dr. Lopamudra, ma'am. So in this decade, we must concentrate on sustainable development. What measures is Hindalco as a company taking to be sustainable in its processing of metals, ma'am? This is her question for you.
Shreya, thank you, and thanks to her for asking such a intellectual, technical and intellectual question. Yes, sustainability is one of the core, core pillar of Hindalco Industries Limited. Hindalco has been, in Dow Jones Sustainability Index in both for 2021 and 22. We have got the world's most sustainable aluminium company. And also in Frost & Sullivan, we are regarded as, given a certification sustainable 4.0 sustainability in all our operation, in all our process, from the mining till the, refinery and downstream. All our operations are, kind of guided by a sustainable process. And for example, I'll give you a small example. For example, we take bauxite is the ore for making alumina. And alumina is a powder out of which we make aluminium. So bauxite is found mostly in the in the bauxite mines are found, basically in the forest, or you can talk about in a tribal belt. So if you put a metal and mining map, mineral map of India and map of river, map of forest, map of tribals, it all falls one on top of each other. So it's our prime responsibility to ensure that the natural resource extraction that we are doing, we should compensate that and give back to the nature more than that. So when we do, bauxite mines are not like coal mines. You go underground and you dig it. So it is like a mountain. You dig the mountain. It's open cast mining. That means you are just cutting the mountains and on the top. So nobody goes down. Wherever bauxite is found, there are only shrubs and those kind of thorny bushes can grow. No forests can grow. As per the sustainability, as per the mining, compliances or rules of the government of India, rules are becoming very stringent nowadays in terms of mining. So it says that when you are mining, you have to give back to the society and community more than that is what it was, as much better than what it was earlier. So when we start this mining, or to take the lease of mining, we ensure that the mining closure plan is in place. That means you talk about health, you talk about education, you talk about livelihood, you talk about forest coverage, because people think that ki forest tha or forest nikal gaya. Generally it's not, if forests are not there, like we talk about rainforest and all. So we ensure that the areas that we start mining, we backfill it. And we have created more than 200 hectares of forest right now after mining the mines. That's about mining. Also, Hindalco Industry Limited was the only company in India to create a sustainable mining charter for Indian mining companies. So also we work on water, we work on to be a carbon neutral by 2050. ABG, Aditya Birla Group, which is the parent company of Hindalco Industries Limited, has its own plan, ESG plan. And we have a goal by 2050 we'll be carbon neutral in all our ABG plants, ABG organizations, which includes Hindalco as well as and water neutral. So it's not only guided by the corporate, it is also the last person working in the unit, in the plants, are aware of what is expected out of them and what do we mean by water. So we have various risk assessment committees, we have water task force, we have environmental team, we have an ESG team, we have carbon positive team, those who assess the risk and actually implement the plans that is made at the corporate level to ensure the sustainability in whatever we are doing, may it be beyond defense or may it be within defense, will be achieved. And we have been given a target that, like for example, I work in sustainability back in Hindalco's unit. So my target is I have to complete this, otherwise I cannot be promoted, or my KPI, my KRAs are not met at the end of the year. So I not only work for the organization, I ensure that these sustainable processes are met and done at the unit level as well, so that my personal growth is also attached to it. So it is attached to our personal goal. So it's very deep rooted in the mindset and thought process of each individual that work in the unit in Hindalco and in Aditya Birla Group.
Thank you, ma'am. That was absolutely enlightening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to both our guests for taking out the time for addressing the 11th Parliamentary session of the World Teen Parliament. Thank you so much, all the teenagers, for doing your part of the job, researching well, preparing good questions. And now I hope that with these learnings, you'll be able to do more impactful work in your areas with your teams of teens across different parts of the world. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the 11th Parliamentary session of the World Teen Parliament.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Namaste. Bye. Thanks.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
From India.
Goodbye.